wander. The other piece is I'm absolutely going to share information about Delaware Greenways, and I'm thrilled to do that. But what I've also hoped, there's a lot of change, there's a lot of stress, folks, good, bad, whatever it might be. So what I'm going to show you a lot today are some amazing places in Delaware to get outside. To get outside, whether it's good for your physical health, your mental health, whether you're going to run, you're going to ride a bike, you're going to walk, and be outside and just be to yourself for a second. So I'm hoping some folks can take from that. So Delaware Greenways, 35 years, we celebrate our anniversary in 2024. What's next? We'll see. So our vision, I'm not going to read it to you, but essentially it's about connecting everyone to the outdoors so that you can lead a healthier life. We do that through two ways. Trails. I'd love to tell you that it was a grand plan, that folks sat back and did, 20-year plan, and this is what we're going to do. Didn't happen that way. In the late 80s, for anybody who may remember, the idea was not accepted well by many of the neighbors. So folks came together to oppose that, for it to be open space and to preserve it in some way. We know that was successful because Rock Manor exists today. So that's where it started. Sort of morphed into trail planning and an advocacy organization that continues today. That really is what we do. We advocate. We do not do anything all on our own. And some folks will be like, Mary, you really shouldn't say that. We do it collaboratively, whether it is with community groups, municipalities, state agencies, other nonprofit partners, corporations, whatever it is, we do it collaboratively with others. I can't stand here and tell you that anything we're going to talk about, we did on our own. So, how did it start? Grassroots trail planning. There was, if folks also think about that, think about Rock Manor, look to your left, and I know that, I'm hoping some of the print is big enough and you can see some of the pictures. But to the left is what Alapocas area looked like early on. Right is what exists there today. Took us 20 years of advocacy, and it's 10 miles. But it took 20, or a good number of you know what the Northern Delaware Greenway Trail is, and perhaps have been on it. If you haven't and you're going with Steve, you're on it. So the Northern Delaware Greenway Trail is what we consider to be our greatest accomplishment. It is 10 miles. It goes from the in Caulfield, it connects Brandywine Park and the Wilmington Park system to Alapocas, from Alapocas to Rockwood through Bringhurst Woods to Bellevue across Philadelphia Pike into Caulfield, and then it begins again, river to Delaware River. Unfortunately, that pesky 495 and Amtrak line makes it a huge challenge to go over or under. Have been some conversations, so that isn't a leap we've been able to make. So I want to see if anybody in here is using some of the trails, and I'm going to do a little bit of a puzzle and see if anybody knows, and if not, I'll help you. So that's the Mike Castle Trail. It runs along the C&D Canal. It runs from Delaware City to Chesapeake. See, if I'm right, those are your parents. So it's an amazing spot. If you get a chance, you really should enjoy that. In addition to Gordon's Pond, Cape Unlogo. Cape Unlogo. That's the jam, the Jack Markell Trail that runs from the riverfront. Right to the left are two different ones in Breakwater. That's the canal in Lewis. Correct. This is what has been recently, it was just covered over with mold and muck through the years, and was recently, actually Councilman Nathan Field was a strong advocate for this, and it was all cleaned up. It stretches from the swinging bridge to 3 Mill Road. So again, just a wonderful place to get out. If you are it does have steps. It's not ADA compliant when you get to that piece, but it is. So, what else is happening? So those are what's on the ground, and there's lots more that are out there. But some to talk about is Commons Boulevard. Commons Boulevard is a trail boulevard. 2 phases exist. The 3rd phase, they just had a meeting. To Airport Road. Newport River is the trail as well. That will run from off of the Markel Trail near the bridge into Newport. And then Georgetown to Lewis is about transportation as well. They're about folks riding their bikes for work and for other things and to mitigate traffic. So Georgetown to Lewis hopes to do a good bit of that, and that hopes to be finished by 2026. And that's a bunch of other folks who are interested in it. We call it the Wilmington Loop. If you don't have ideas and then things don't get planned, then when there's funding, they don't happen. So the Wilmington Loop is sort of like the idea of the Atlanta Beltway, if you think about it. And it would be about, of those exist today. Another 8 are the gaps between it. The largest gap stems from what would be connecting the trails along the Brandywine. Refer to it as the East Side Connector, but some folks refer to it as a Riverwalk extension. And it's just something that's out there as an idea. In 2017, Delaware Greenways had funding from the William Penn Foundation, not just about trail planning, but those whose programs or continue to work with these groups. This is just some bullets of existing trails and then some that are in development. It's not sort of our hands in all sorts of things. Bicycle safety promotion, if you ride accidents and too many folks we know and love hurt. We do working on a new kiosk, what those trails are. Grant funding to support some planning studies through the year. We in Delaware do a really great job of getting trails out and built, but the amenities along them, the wayfinding, some safety aspects to them, that's often not included in the budget for when they're built, so those things are outstanding or over. So if you go to DelawareGreenways.org and you want to take a walk and you want it to be flat, it'll give you an idea. You will also filter it by what county. If you want to have something that's harder, you don't care whether it's asphalt, it's something like that, you can filter those out as well. Our website, so it's helpful. So we do some rides and events. One of the rides we started a number of years ago, and Ashley, is a large part of this each year. And that's what we call the June. And we ride from historic Newcastle, the courthouse, to Tubman Garrett Park, stopping along the way to talk and share stories of the freedom seekers that traveled that road. When we talk about trails, they're not just about asphalt. There was something there before. There's history there. And so that's what we try to do during this ride, and we also try to do that at other aspects. We have some wonderful groups. We stop. You'll see both of these pictures. What you don't see is that just before we took these pictures, Ashley Ford, but if you hadn't, she's amazing. So, the other aspect of the programs that we do are byways. And there's a lot of folks in here who are going to go, what is a byway? Joe, don't roll your eyes when I say what is a byway. But essentially it's designated for some special unique features. The idea behind the byways being designated is to preserve the intrinsic resources along those. Those intrinsic resources being cultural, natural, historic, recreational, agricultural. So Delaware has 6 designated byways. The program is closed, so for the immediate future, there won't be more. There is the Brandywine Valley National Scenic Byway, which I'll talk about. There is the Delaware Bay Shore, which I will talk about. Ashley can talk about, but also it overlaps both Delaware Bay Shore and Brandywine in some aspects. There is Historic Lewis, Nanticoke Heritage, which is in and around Seaford, and Red Clay Valley Scenic Byway, which is in Hockessin. So I'll talk a little bit about Brandywine Valley, Delaware Greenways in 2000, along with many community managed by the Brandywine Valley National Scenic Byway Partnership, KPA, and others, most of the cultural institutions, the tourism bureaus, because byways are not just about preserving those resources. If you want to know the real story, it starts at Rodney Square, and it goes from where Route 100 comes off of 52 to the Pennsylvania line. Where Tubman overlaps it, it actually continues. So this is just an example of what I think everybody has seen. Just one, the picture on your left is the intersection at Brandywine Creek State Park. And there was a conversation not that many years ago about improving traffic there and putting in a rotary, putting in a roundabout. It wasn't really well perceived by the community. And we were a large part of that discussion in hopes of keeping its look just like that. So we are preserving those view sheds that are out there. Again, not just us, lots of folks apologize, it's hard to see. But that's actually some itineraries that we also have on our website that were created for us, for anybody who might travel in from out of state or even want to. It's a 3 or 4 night along those byways. And we have on our website just talks to you about the different institutions, and more than 1 million visitors a year come to the cultural institutions along there. So it's an important part of our work. The Delaware Bayshore Byway, a little bit different. It's absolutely still looking to preserve those intrinsic resources, neat little red dots. And those are the small communities and a little bit larger who, some are looking for increased visitors, some are looking to improve their out. They would prefer folks not come, and so that's okay. That's their choice as well. It's been happening recently, which is a conversation between Milford and some folks are for it, some are not so much, and it's really going to be the community that makes that decision. When we picture, that's Woodland Beach. That's on Route 9 some days. But I got to tell you, if you don't hang out on Route 9 or you haven't, you got to do it. It is an amazing part of the state and so much amazing. So that's just an example of some other pieces. For folks, wait, I have this cool clicker. If anybody doesn't know where Thousand Acre Marsh is, what you see in the background is the Reedy Point Bridge. So that's right outside of Delaware City. If you stand on that viewing platform, you don't see anything but marsh. It's really amazing. Lewis, between the bay and Route 1. Lewis was designated for its natural, its historic, and its recreational opportunities. It's got some amazing aspects. It's got the history where there's lots of activities. It's a wonderful meeting place. But it's also got a whole lot of change. And one of the things we work with is to help with that change in some way to preserve the view sheds. Some of it's working. It's getting a whole lot of bikes, so hopefully working to help in that direction as well. What's next for us? Our board is currently having a conversation about value impact. And what does it look like? What are we bringing to the state? What can we continue to bring with the uncertain future that many of us as nonprofits have? And where there's overlap and where there isn't. So we're having that conversation. Don't know where that's going to land, but I'm excited to be a part of it. What I would ask all of you is if anybody reach out to me in any way. Otherwise, you can catch us on social media if you wish. And that's it for me. And hi, there you
I think we probably have time for a question or two. Is there a... Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of good information.
Thanks, Mary.
Hi, Joe.
How are you?
I'm good.
I've been reading about the possibility of going under...
Widener Law School.
Correct, yes.
Yes. There is an ongoing conversation. Will Mapco recently did a public meeting and some planning studies trying to find a way to go underneath, because for many years, overt conversation, also a great connection to the national park eventually from the other side of 202. So,
Great idea.
yeah, it's up for discussion, so we're hoping. Thanks for asking.
I'm wondering when that will be finished rebuilding.
So you're talking about the pedestrian bridge at Bancroft Mills?
Yes.
Right. It is currently in construction. If you've been down there recently, they were working to remove it.
Early child education partners. So kind of the signature area of our community outreach over the past 6 years has been early child education. That, you know, really important for the little ones, and we're not doing very well in Delaware, but we're getting better, and we're leaning in. So we've got 4 partners in the city. So Eric actually said at the beginning of the meeting, why don't we give one to all 4 for every meeting setup? So that's I think we could probably figure out a way to afford that. But that's our expression of thanks. So we really appreciate it. So okay, the macaroons and the coffee are in the back. They followed us from the Rotary.